All right, so now that's audio. That's how we filter the curse words out. So at about 10 minutes is when y'all can probably start watching. All right. So let's hook this up. Okay, let's actually just do a thing where we're gonna integrate Max's assets that he received from the artist. So let's take a look at it. Yo. All right. We can't use any of this because we just don't have Maya. That might as well have been done in Blender or something, some other type of software. What we can use though is Max's. Nice. All right, so inversion. So what we could do is we'll bring in this default model and see what it looks like whenever we actually bring it in. So, oh, look at that. All right, so we have the rock guy, and by default, these things will. Oh yeah, it doesn't have the animator on it. So if we hit play, this shouldn't do anything. Good. So he's just chilling. All right, he's just sitting there doing nothing, and we want him to do stuff. What we'll do is we'll add the animator that we had before. So we'll put the minion animator on him. And then what we'll do is we'll add our script, okay? So the script that we had was this, yeah? And will this work? Why? Well, I mean, like, okay, so we added those states, but like, what do those states actually do whenever they're, yeah, there's no animations, all right? So let's do that. So if we want to add the actual animations that we're going to be getting, I'm pretty much a stickler for like the naming of them. Whenever I hit that motion radio button, I bet what I'm going to see is capital T, lowercase a, K-E space, 01. 6 of them, I'm going to guess, for per animation. So I hit that. Damn, I was off by 2. Okay, so we have no idea exactly what this is supposed to be right now. All right. I mean, if we look right here, yeah, we can make some assumption, but if I mean, they're supposed to be naming these things properly. I'm not really sure why I put a version number on it. That's actually providing even worse of a clarity. So how do you fix that? All right. Well, I'll just do that real quick. So if we go into here, we'll go into the general minion animations, and then we'll actually look at this idle animation, and then you'll see that it's called take 01 here. So what we'll do is we'll say minion at idle. All right. Now this will get bloated later whenever you have guys that do this when they're just regular, but then whenever they get upset, they do this. But that's part of their animation, and you're just at the liberty of whatever the artists want to come up with. Okay. So let me do a good price. I'll just put 00. All right. But teacher, why don't you put 000? Well, the requirement is that you can only have 99 auto animations now. So we'll just go with that. All right, so as soon as you change anything in the import settings, it's going to prompt you that you change them. So thank you, Unity. And what we'll do is go ahead and add that animation. There we go. All right, so we've added this here, and if you go in here and then look, you can actually see the transition. Man, Dylan, can you Google this, man? The Unity preview, FBX preview is not updating itself properly, something like that. It seems to be a 561 thing. All right. So if you look at this transition that goes from running to idle, you'll see that there is nothing that shows up in the preview panel. Why? Because there's no animation for the running. So what we'll do is we're going to rename that guy. So minion at running. Okay. Thank you, Don Ray. 99 running animations. I got 99 problems and they're all animations. But you're limited to 99. All right, so we hit apply. We'll go look at this thing, the animation itself, the state, and add it. So now we have this. So if we go look at it, you'll see that he'll be running, and then he's finally going to get to the end in which he'll stop. And you can do the same on this side too. So he's idle, and he's going to shoot out. Yo, got to bounce. So now you can preview these animations, see what they look like. This tool is extremely important to me. It keeps me, like, this right here is what it's going to be from the project view. Because once little dude makes it in the engine, there's no telling how he's going to behave. All right? Just be under that assumption. All right? Because, I mean, someone could be accessing a bunch of different transforms and, like, moving them certain places and then trying to move the rig around. Okay? We'll go into that later, but here is your boy. Okay? So let's go look at it in the actual game. So will this work? I mean, it'd be one of two answers. Yes, yes, this will work. All right, so, yep, okay, so, so this guy's a rigid body on him. Okay, so what's the problem with this? Why is the default? Yeah, he doesn't have a collider. So we'll add a collider onto him. And we'll set this collider up to be appropriate. Thanks to U256, you can actually grab these handles and then move them around. This is also like I would prefer an artist do this, but sometimes you don't have that luxury. Nah, it's an in-engine thing. So some of the geometry could generate the collision volumes, but the way that I've always been familiar with it whenever we're in projects is that you do it manually in the engine, because you want to separate the collision volumes from the actual geometry itself. All right.
If he hits something, he's just gonna fall over like that.
Yeah, he will. He will. He has no weight to him. So I'll just move this over right here, make sure that we're lined up appropriately. I think that this will suffice for now. So if you hit play, he should pause right here, and now you'll see that he played the animation, but then he stopped, right? So the idle animation is it's an idle animation. Like, he needs to repeat it over and over again. All right. So in order for us to have him repeat his animation over and over again, once again, we need to go dig up into the actual FBX settings, and we just need to make sure that we're looping the time. All right. Yes. Just, I can come up with a better, a more thorough explanation. But I mean, if it's an animation that's repeating, when you hit this state, you need to perform actions. All right, you need to. We're going to try to abide by the finite state machine paradigm, because when you enter the state, you perform actions. Okay, if you're forcing a transition to go from idle back to the idle state, then you're going to do those actions again. But what we could do is just loop the animation and not do those things again. In some cases, though, it's appropriate to actually have that type of behavior where you're looping back into another state. User interface, whenever you push a state on and then you pop off and you come back, like you may need to like refresh yourself. Okay, so if you're like an idle and you need to make sure that the system is in a consistent state, okay, then having it transition to itself could always enforce that you're, coding it how it should be. But yeah, that's a good question. One of the things that I did before was just put that I made transitions to the back to itself. So now that we're looping time, you'll see he's doing this animation, and now he's kind of doing a little something extra, it looks like. So the animation looks like it might have like a pop in it, and it's not like interpolating as it should. So what we'll do is we'll look at it here and then see that is exactly how the artist made it, so it's fine. In the engine, like, you could just do this loop pose and it will do some auto magic correction. So it'll do some type of interpolation. And even though you think it looks better, don't touch it, okay? Don't touch it. That's like going into someone's code and then being like, I don't like the way you camel cased all this. I'm going to just go ahead and redo it all for you. I'm doing you a favor. You're not doing anybody a favor. You're a programmer. Get it in a base state and then hand it over and go, is this, how's this look? Play dumb, okay? When it comes down to the actual end of it and you're working on your own and it's not someone else's asset that you're dealing with, then you can get cute with it. All right. So uncheck that, leave it, and now we'll look at it. Okay, so the dude's he seems to be doing well. We need him to go to the running state. Do you have a fix for this, or?
The fix would be updating to 5.6 patch 1. It's a
Yeah.
bug I put on the forums and they
I don't know
said
how they ruined it, but okay. Um, so let's make him run. All right. So this is where we'll get into. I don't have a level, but I need a little guy to run around, right? Okay. So in order for your, you don't need the level asset. If you want to try to generate an nav mesh, and this is at time. I'll go back and look at it. Excuse me. This will be for you, Chris. So to make a nav mesh on geometry, what you'll do is select the geometry, click Window, go to Nav. Oh, okay, that is not it. Click Window and go to Navigate. What is happening? It just. It's my carpal. I'm getting old, man. Really want to debug physics. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna bake, and I think that. Yeah, I know you have to check this, but I can't really explain exactly what's going on with that. Whenever you hit bake, it'll generate the nav mesh. So if you set this navigation static, and then you hit bake, yeah, nothing shows up. I'll have to look into actually what that checkbox does, but so make sure that you check it to be static, and then now you'll see that you put a little blankie on the ground for a guy to run around on. Okay, the what? Let me look at the collision volume actually.
it's a setting on the like the walls or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, he's actually not in a. He's not even an agent that's participating right now. I'm not sure why it's not filling out the entire volume of it. Uh huh. Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, because it doesn't want to hit the actual edge of it. Because I mean, if you have the guys like running around on the blanket there, I mean, they're gonna yeah. Well, they're not gonna run off. They're gonna like lemming off. Remember, the nav mesh agent is only used for pathfinding. Okay, like it's just setting positions. And setting it to where was it 0.5? Yeah, accommodating for something like this is to say like this area is probably in. I have to look at it. We'll review it, okay? So I can finish this out. Okay, so if you want him to run around, you're going to need to add a component to him. That component is going to be the nav mesh agent component. All right, and then you'll see that you had it added the nav mesh capsule volume for it. So here's a pro tip. Like whenever you do this stuff, you typically do it before you're going to touch the actual nav mesh, the nav agent. So if your capsule collider is already defined, what you can do is just make sure that you're using these values in the actual nav mesh agent component. So for radius, I mean, we can match. I don't think that you could do a copy component paste. Yeah, that won't work. So the radius is that number, and what we'll do is put it. So there we go, and then the height of him will be this number. And then the center is not a value. And I think that's it. Yeah, look, he looks like he's all wrapped up. All right. So in order for our agent to run around, like if I hit play, there's nothing that's going to happen here, except for that, which I don't know. I'm not exactly sure why he's doing that. Oh, because his velocity is actually greater than 0. We fix. Speed is 3.5. Steering. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I'll give this guy a place to go run to, in which I will give him. I'll just set him as this box. So your script is going to have to actually have the. a transform target for it. And then what we'll do is we'll say make a reference to the navmesh agent, which is part of the Unity Engine UI AI. All right, and now we can have a navmesh agent. All right, and then we'll set that value. So agent is going to be the get component on the navmesh agent, just so we're consistent. So many of those. All right. Now, in update, what you're going to need to do is set his destination. Okay. So where do we want him to actually go to? Well, we don't know yet. We really don't know. So what you can have is just like a public transform and call it target. Okay. Remember that these guys, the transforms, those are going to be by reference whenever you get them. So you don't need to keep assigning them over and over and over again. You can just always have that one transform whenever you assign it. So once we assign a transform in the inspector, what we'll do is say, okay, well, the navmesh agent, the agent is going to need to go to that place. So we'll set his destination to the target's position. All right. And then I need to send values to the actual animator controller, in which what we'll do is we'll say the animator dot set float. We'll use our speed variable, and then we'll give it the agent's velocity magnitude, okay, instead of the actual rigid body velocity. That's good. Let's see. So what I'm assuming the expected behavior is that he run, and then he'll be very close to a place, and then he has a stopping distance variable associated with him. So whenever he gets to a certain point from that object, he's going to decelerate. Okay, once he hits that threshold. So then he'll slow down. That's what I'm saying is like, yeah, we could see, we'll see. But I'm saying that's what I'm expecting on this end.